Attention wrestling fans, you're now about to listen to the man coming down the aisle from the main streets of South Elgin, Illinois, with a microphone in his hand and questions on his mind. This is Whaddya Say with DDJ.
Welcome, everyone, to episode 38 of Whaddya Say with DDJ. I hope you enjoyed the last couple best of episodes, but it is time to get back to some new and original programming here on Whaddya Say. Joining me this week for the third time is CCW owner and promoter, Mr. John Bullard. But on this show, he gives his take on Wrestlemania 37. We go over all the matches, talk about the results and whether or not he liked the decision, and if maybe what he would have went with, seeing as he runs his own promotion and does the booking and the creative. So it's kind of going to be an interesting take on what he thought about Wrestlemania and kind of give some perspective, maybe a little peek behind the curtain. So I really hope you like this show. So just grab your drink, grab something to eat, grab a comfy spot, get yourself all nice and warm and cozy, and enjoy episode 38 of Whaddya Say with DDJ and my guest this week, John Bullard, as we look at Wrestlemania 37.
This is Rockstar Johnny Nye, and you're listening to Whaddya Say with DDJ. And make sure you catch the newest episode featuring yours truly. What other reason could you possibly need to tune in outside of the fact that I'm on it? I mean, come on, people. And for those of you who don't tune in, be gone.
Okay, we are back and on this very unique special episode of Whaddya Say with DDJ. Once again, the topic of this conversation is Wrestlemania 37. Did they get it right? And joining me to let you guys know if they got it right is someone who is not only a very good friend of mine, he is also the CEO, the owner and promoter of Chicagoland Championship Wrestling. Now, once again, for the third time on this show, please welcome John Bullard. John, how are you doing this afternoon?
Hey, DDJ, thank you for having me on, my friend. It is always a pleasure to talk with you, and I'm looking forward to doing this. This is kind of interesting and unique, and I'm looking forward to opening up the Booker cap and see what ideas we can come up with.
Beautiful. Having talks with you and everything, outside of the show and everything, this kind of stuff always intrigues me. So I really appreciate coming on to do this because, not only do I hope my audience learn some things, I hope I learned some things maybe I didn't necessarily take into account with watching WrestleMania. Before we get into it, just overall, without giving any analysis on any of the matches, which is what the bulk of this is going to be, did you watch WrestleMania?
Absolutely. I watched everything from the NXT shows to both nights of Mania.
Okay, and overall, how did you feel watching WrestleMania when seeing that there was a crowd there?
Nervous, because that was a lot of people there. There was 25,000 fans.
Yep.
But it was good to see in a crowd again, though. I mean, it felt somewhat of normalcy to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully COVID can finally just fade away. I know it's going to be a long time. I'm not trying to go into politics of it, but it's going to be a while before we can finally say sayonara to it.
Right.
But I do hope to see normalcy come back where fans of shows could actually enjoy wrestling again. They can enjoy being with their friends and family, enjoying shows. But no, I enjoyed Mania. There were some matches that really grabbed my attention and made me very happy, and there were some matches I kind of shook my head at, like, okay, that was a little different from what I would have done it. But I try to, when I watch Mania, I try to watch it as a fan. I tried to leave the promoter Booker's cap and lay it down on a table somewhere and just try to be a fan when I watch shows. It's kind of hard sometimes. I'm not going to lie. It's there's some things that you just can't help. It's just your nature when you're in the business and you watch things and you're like, man, why did they do this? And but for most part, I enjoyed the whole Mania week. I thought the NXT show was great, and I thought majority of WrestleMania was actually pretty solid for what it was.
Cool. Well, you actually answered a question I was going to ask you about, how hard is it to watch as a fan, when you're in the business and you just put it out there. So it was really, I like that take. So let's get right into it. Basically try to go in order of the way the show was presented. So first up, we're going to go with the match that started night one, that being Bobby Lashley defending the WWE Championship against Drew McIntyre. So real quick result, Lashley won via submission, even though technically Drew did not tap out. I believe he passed out. So what do you think of the match, and what would you have done differently, if anything, with this match?
Nothing at all. I'm actually was very pleased with the whole match. I like that Bobby Lashley retained. Everyone going in was automatically thinking McIntyre's going to win it. He's going to have his moment. With Lashley, they're building him up as a dominant champion for the Raw brand. I like the finish. I like that Drew didn't tap out. He passed out. And what that does in return, it keeps Drew McIntyre strong for the audience. But it still gives Bobby Lashley that aggressive, dominant heel champion type mentality with the way he went over. Having MVP on his side has been nothing but great. I think it's been a great fit for both guys. I really hate that the Hurt Business been kind of like pushed aside. I think that was a bad call by WWE on that one. Because how we kept him around. I think Hurt Business was actually good for the show. But yeah, no, happy with the finish. Kind of wondering now where they're going to go with on this. I know there must be like a rematch at Backlash, if I'm correct.
Yes. Drew won a triple threat on Raw. The Raw after WrestleMania to earn his rematch. So we're going to see these two go at it one more time at WrestleMania Backlash, I believe is what they're officially calling this next pay-per-view. Yeah.
So either we'll see Drew finally retain the belt, or we'll see Bobby Lashley finding a way to, I'm sorry, Drew should win the belt, or more than likely they'll find a way to keep Bobby Lashley retaining the title, which then that could be interesting because in the world of booking, the chase is always the best storyline. I never like it when, a heel wins for a while. Oh no, yeah, we'll just switch the belt right back to the babyface. Like, no, give it some time, let it build. So I'm interested to see where they go with this.
Awesome, love that take. I thought it was in my predictions contest that I was in with the Pro Wrestling Junkies Facebook group. I picked Drew to win basically because I thought he was going to get his Mania moment, but I also agree that this was the right way to go with Lashley retaining. So next up, we have in a match that basically allowed the majority of the women's roster to be featured on the show. We have the tag team turmoil match. You had Naomi and Lana, Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose, the Riot Squad, Natalya and Tamina, and Carmella and Billie Kay in a 5-team tag team turmoil match. And going into that match here, we had the winners came out were Natalya and Tamina. Thoughts on the match, and did they get it right with the team that went over in this match?
I do like Natalya. I know that some fans don't like her, but honestly, she's been one of the hardest working people on that roster, men and women both. She's been there forever. I was really hoping she finally would get herself a WrestleMania moment for all the work that she's put in and all the women she's helped mentor over the years. I'll be honest, that match was kind of rough to watch. It was a massive cluster. It was sometimes with these gauntlet matches, scramble matches, when people put like all these different people all into one big match together, either you'll have a match that is very entertaining and fun, it's like a human car wreck, or is just a car wreck, and there's no entertainment into it. This one, I think all the ladies try their best, but it's just one that sometimes you'll have an off night. In my opinion, that match was an off night for a lot of the ladies. Not knocking them, it just didn't do anything for me.
Okay. And then do you feel the right team went over in this match?
For all the other teams involved with it and who was the women's tag champions, yeah. I think it was a pretty solid one. To me, it was either them or the Riot Squad.
Okay. Yeah, I actually was hoping I'm a big fan of the Riot Squad, so I kind of hoped they would have won, but I wasn't upset at all that Natalia and Tamina went over because, yeah, they've both been with the company what seems like forever, and, I was really hoping. I mean, they did get their WrestleMania moment here, but would they go on to get their WrestleMania moment? We'll just have to wait and see. Tune in, we'll keep on watching. You'll find out our thoughts here. So next up we have... And I'm just going to come out and say it. This was my favorite match of WrestleMania from both nights, and that is Cesaro versus Seth Rollins.
Yes.
So again, the result of the match was Cesaro went over on Seth Rollins. What do you think of the match? Obviously, I think you just kind of said it yourself. And do you think the right call was made?
Absolutely, it was about time call. In my opinion, when I knew, I have a feeling on this. I have a feeling that Cesaro is going to start getting a little bit more of a push with the company.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not sure he's going to be the guy who beats Roman Reigns by any means. Would I love to see that? Absolutely. But Cesaro has always been one of the most consistent guys on the roster. No matter what match he's put into, no matter what opponent he's facing, he always puts on a great performance. And with Seth, let's take a look at his old WrestleMania record. He's beaten Triple H, he's beaten Brock Lesnar, he cashed in on Roman and Brock to win the title. Like, he's had some pretty big moments, and he's been given the grand stage quite often. I mean, even the match with him and Randy Orton at that one Mania was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
So, knowing coming in, if Cesaro gets beat by Seth, it does nothing for Cesaro at all.
Mm-hmm.
But if Cesaro beats Seth, it's a huge deal because you look at maybe the fan perspective of this. Here's a guy who finally beat the guy who's beaten the guys.
Mm-hmm.
Cesaro's beaten the guy who's beaten Brock Lesnar. He's beaten the guy who has beaten Roman Reigns, who's beaten Triple H. That's a big deal. That should be a big deal in the eyes of booking. Hey, that's a major win. You beat the guy on the grandest stage who's had all these big wins previously. Right call. You listen to the crowd. The crowd went crazy when he won.
Yes,
they were extremely happy to see Cesaro finally get his big moment. Outside of that, Andre the Giant Battle Royal that he won, this was his pinnacle moment at this time of his career in WWE. I've been watching this guy ever since the day of Shikara when I first saw him, and Claudio is a family friend, and so was Seth Rollins. So seeing both those guys having the success that they're having, it's a beautiful thing to see. But I'm extremely happy for Cesaro. I'm always so used to calling Claudio, but seeing Cesaro getting that big moment, good for him, man. Great call. I think it was the right moment. The fans. The thing is, the fans. You ever see like sometimes with booking, the fans know it's coming,
right?
And they crap on it because they're never happy with stuff. You see this a lot with fans nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those rare moments that the fans were hoping for it. But when it happened, they went unglued. They were extremely happy for him getting his big win. So I'm just hoping that this will transition to him getting kind of a fair run past a mid card area to upper level and see what WWE could do with him. They're giving all these other guys a chance. Why not him?
Right. And it was just it was just a surreal moment. And the one thing that really kind of really got me in this match with that this was Cesaro's first one-on-one match at WrestleMania, and he's been with the company for on the main roster since for almost 9 years now. So I think he's been
going almost on a decade.
Yeah. So it's just so surreal to think that this was his first singles match at WrestleMania. So moving on in night one. Next up we have the Raw Tag Team Championship match, which featured the New Day defeating against AJ Styles and his personal Colossus and making his main roster wrestling debut. That would be Omos. So For again, the results were AJ and Omos walked out of Mania with the tag team titles. Based on what due to Omos's just dominating performance there. What do you think of the match, and was the right call made?
Oh yeah, it definitely was the right call made. The thing is, the New Day is so over that taking a loss doesn't hurt them. It really doesn't. So you're debuting a legitimate giant. And this dude is massive. Like every time I see him on TV, I'm like, my God, he's a big guy. And of course, you mix the size and power of him with the agility and the athletic ability of AJ Styles. That's a really unique combination working together. That was a good debut for him. He went in dominant, took no bumps from anybody, tossed guys around. He did his job. He did very well. And of course, the New Day made him look like he was $1 million on top of that. So I thought it was actually a good call. Now I'm kind of interested in where do they go with this? Where do they go from here? Right. Does the New Day challenge them again, and does the New Day find a way to retain, or does a new tag team come into the fold and challenge AJ and his huge bodyguard?
So one of the things I noticed about this match, and I wanted to get your take on this, is it seemed like the way that these two teams worked were opposite, like their characters. It seemed like the New Days kind of worked as the heels in this match, whereas I felt like AJ and Omos kind of worked as the baby faces in that match. This was something I noticed. I don't know if it's something that you noticed, and if so, I mean, what did you think about that?
When you say they were trying to work like heels, give me your theory on that.
Where they were taunting Omos, they were preventing the tag, they were that heel tag team cutting off the ring, preventing AJ from getting the tag and the whole.
I don't really consider it heelish on that, because think about this. This is where booking goes into logical theory.
Okay,
you're a kid on the playground, right? And you and your friend has been bullied by this jerk and his big goofy best friend forever. And somehow that big goofy friend is so locked up in a classroom door he can't get out. But his other buddy that you've been trying to beat the hell out of is trying to open that door. What will you do? Do you want that big goofy guy running in there and annihilating you and your friend? Or do you cut that off and try to prevent the guy who's been bullying you from taking full advantage, because that guy's like 6 times your size? So what they were doing, in my opinion, was more logical sense.
Okay.
I don't want to face a giant. I don't want that guy getting his hands on me, and I don't want to be broken in half. What happened? AJ finally gets that tag in, and here comes Omos, and it was just pure carnage, and it was great. It was beautiful to watch him do that. I don't feel like it was heelish. It's more of like logical sense of survival in a match. That's just my theory on that.
And that is exactly why I wanted you to have you on this show, because that just exemplified it. I mean, I looked at it one way, you presented me another way of looking at it, which actually makes a lot of sense and kind of it makes me understand why they went this way with the way they worked this match. So
absolutely.
And that so. All right, so moving on here, we are going into which I believe that going into this is only the, not counting Hell in a Cell match, I believe is only the second steel cage match in Wrestlemania history, and that would be the Monster Among Men, Braun Strowman, going up against Shane McMahon. Result of the match was Braun defeated Shane by basically throwing him off the top of the cage and then hitting him with this power slam. What do you think of the match and the right call made?
Yeah, right call made. I mean, there's no reason for Shane to beat Braun Strowman. Braun gets nothing out of that, nor does Shane. To me, I look at the finish. I would have done it a little differently. You're throwing a man off the top of a 15, 20-foot steel cage?
Yes, I believe it was like the standard steel cage, 15 feet high or whatever they build it as.
Why wasn't that not the finish? Why pick up another? Why throw someone like, all right, so you fall off the roof of your house, right? And you're hitting the ground. And then I want to go and decide to pick you up and slam you again. Okay, no, he's fallen. Just you beat him. That bump alone got the whole entire stadium popping, because it was crazy. It was a great bump. Shane McMahon at his age, I'm shocked that he still does the risk that he does, which makes me respect him a lot because he doesn't have to do it, but he does it.
Right.
And that to me should have been the finish. So this is a power slam. To me, getting thrown off something that high up, that should have been game over. But outside of that, one of my favorite parts of the match, Shane was climbing out of the cage and Braun grabbed him and ripped the cage door or cage wall open. I love that. That was so almost cartoonish in a way, but it made sense for his size and strength to be able to do that. And then, did what he did. Like I thought it was great. All in all, right call. Good for Braun. I just wonder now where do they go from here with that?
So one of the things that was really criticized about this match was the story leading up into this match, and where the word "stupid" got thrown in a lot, and and it's kind of the whole the little guy bullying the bigger guy type thing and stuff. And what are your thoughts on the build for this match? What did you think of the story? Because I'll be honest with you, I wasn't a fan of it myself.
I wasn't either. I mean, it to me, it didn't do anything for Braun.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, what's your whole thing? Oh, you're dumb. Oh, okay. Let's play up on someone not being the brightest person in the world. Like, come on, man. There's a million things you can do if a guy who looks like Braun Strowman. Braun could easily been in the title picture with somebody. He could easily been in any other match with any up and coming talents. Anybody that he could have had a bigger matchup with. I hate to say this. I think this was one of those things of Shane McMahon wants to be in WrestleMania, so let's find him something to do. And we all kind of know when Shane's going to wrestle. Shane's going to fall off something or get flung off of something or whatever happens to him. It's just kind of like his niche. And I feel like that's what kind of like what this was all set up to be, is just Shane flying off a cage, and he's done it before with Undertaker.
Yeah. One of the spots I really did like in this match was when Braun ripped through the cage and basically pulled Shane right back in. I really liked that.
Oh, same here. It's the visual. The visual of it instantly makes you like, oh wow, and it's the things that they do with Braun before all this was great. But I feel like Braun in the last year has kind of been in a rough spot with the roster because he got put into that whole Firefly Funhouse Fiend ordeal, and that really didn't make any sense to me afterwards. And then he's just been kind of stuck in purgatory. So hopefully they'll do something with him that will give him a chance to get his momentum back.
Right. Okay, so couple more matches here for night one. We're going to get into a match that I think surprised a lot of people here, and I think when you see the match, you're going to know why. That is the big tag team match featuring The Miz and John Morrison against Damian Priest and Grammy Award-winning Latin rap star Bad Bunny. So result of the match was Damian Priest and Bad Bunny went over Miz and Morrison. I'll ask you again, what do you think of the match, and was the right call made here?
Oh, absolutely, right call was made because you listen to how that crowd reacted to it. They were all for it. Bad Bunny, as much as any wrestling fans going to hate on it, or some wrestlers don't understand it, he brought 2.9 million followers to the WWE brand when he made his appearances with them. He is a draw. As much as people may or may not like his music, he's a draw. What makes the whole match really good was the fact that Bad Bunny actually trained for this. He actually put in the time and effort and wanted to be part of this. So it came off very well. He was very fluid in the ring. Nothing he did looked stupid. Nothing he didn't do looked out of place. For the love of God, he sold a headbutt. Any wrestlers today don't even sell a headbutt? He actually sold a headbutt and did very well with it. On top of it, I feel like having Bad Bunny around him a lot kind of gave Damian Priest a good rub with a lot of people. Like, hey, I'm this guy's new best friend, and it's not a bad little place to be in while he's starting up on the main roster. He's already part of a really cool WrestleMania moment. On top of this, the people who are real MVPs of this match is Miz and Morrison, because they carried Bad Bunny through this match, and they made him look like $1 million for doing it. And I think a lot of people don't give John Morrison. Let me turn off my phone. I do apologize.
Oh, no problem. No problem.
I wasn't expecting someone trying to call me. But Miz and Morrison went out of their way to be entertaining, be the hills that you want to hate, and they did a great job. Like, Miz and Morrison don't get enough credit for actually how good they really are, and definitely the Miz. A lot of people just crap on him over the years and not realize he hasn't had a lot of bad matches, but I've seen him have a lot of good ones.
Yeah, Miz is. I'm a big fan of Miz for a number of years, and yeah, sometimes he'll get some heat for it, but I stand by because I think he's way better than I think people give him credit for. So,
oh yeah, absolutely.
All right, so on to the match that closed out night one, and that is was for the SmackDown Women's Championship. That being Sasha Banks defending the SmackDown Women's Championship against the winner of the 2021 Women's Royal Rumble, Bianca Belair, and what a lot of people call a match of the night, or a spectacular main event. Bianca Belair shocked the world and got the win over Sasha Banks. What'd you think of the match, and was the right call made?
To me, how I look at that is, what a great WrestleMania moment for Bianca Belair. I thought it was a great call. She has worked extremely hard since her NXT days to get where she's at. Amazing athlete, someone who is a great combination of strength, agility. She has technical prowess for what she does. And on top of it, throughout that match, Sasha Banks sold like $1 million for her. She did a great job. And the hair whip, like, me and my wife watched it. And dude, I thought a shotgun went off.
Oh yeah,
how loud that was.
Yeah, that was brutal.
I've heard chops in the 20 some odd years I've done wrestling. I have seen chops from Kabashi, Joe, all those guys who are notorious for being like hard hitting choppers. Her hair whipping Sasha Banks was one of the most grimacing, most eeriest sound I have ever heard in my life, because literally an entire stadium can hear it. And it was just like, oh my God, like, you knew. Do you see the marks?
Yes, the marks that left on Sasha's side when it
man. Glad it's not me. I'm glad it is not me, brother. Oh my God. Oh man, that hurts bad. But
watching that.
Yeah, same here. I look at my wife, I'm like, nah, not it. I'll never take that. No, sir. But no, I thought it was a great match. One of my favorite spots is when Bianca actually picked her up in the Gorilla Press Slam and walked up the stairs with her.
Yes,
like, if that doesn't show you the strength of a human being, I mean, like, that was impressive. Like, I everything she does has been really good. I'm happy for her. And once again, I'll say this throughout the program here. I'm interested in seeing where they go with this. Who's going to be our next challenger? Is it going to be Charlotte Flair who's coming back? Like, who's going to be? But I hope they give Bianca a chance to have a good run, because she's such a talented wrestler.
Gotcha. All right, so we're done with night one here. What was your favorite match from night one?
Night one's actually a coin toss between Cesaro and Seth, and Bianca and Sasha. But I'll just because of personally knowing both gentlemen, Cesaro and Seth was actually my favorite moment. Just because knowing how hard Claudio has worked over the years, it was good to finally see one of the real good guys in the wrestling business finally get his just due.
Gotcha. Yeah, that was my favorite match from night one as well too. Was Rollins versus Cesaro. So. All right, so let's go on to night two, and we'll start off night two with the match that opened the show and kind of had a lot of people going, at least in my opinion, huh? And that being the Fiend Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton. And in that match, Orton went over with straight up RKO. in a finish that kind of, like I said, had a lot of people questioning, including myself, questioning the decision. What do you think of the match, and what are your thoughts on did they get it right with this match?
That was the one that I looked at and kind of wondered, like, okay, I don't get this. But then again, it was one of those you had to follow up the next night on Raw to hopefully there's a little bit more story to it. The entrance was killer. I liked it.
Yes.
I watched that and I was like, holy crap! Like that's some good production value there, folks. I liked it. The thing about the whole Fiend gimmick, it's all about character. It's all about storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't understand the story, you're going to be lost watching it, wondering what the hell's going on. I didn't like the fact that they made this guy such a supernatural monster that when you go back and watch that Hell in a Cell with him and Rollins,
Mm-hmm.
and Rollins beat him with all the furniture he get his hands on and still couldn't put him down. But you're telling me one RKO was good enough to beat him? Like, come on, man, that makes no sense. But I guess what they're going with on this story is that Alexa Bliss is now becoming Sister Abigail, or becoming the spirit of Sister Abigail, I guess. That's where I'm figuring where they're going with this story, because like he was really surprised by what he saw on that. So I mean, what's your take on that?
That's honestly kind of what I was thinking too, because we myself and my two co-hosts of the Junkyard, Jovan and Spencer, we do live shows after every pay-per-view to kind of talk about them and stuff. And this was kind of one of the things that we were kind of wondering about when we were talking about this match after night 2 and stuff. And I was kind of the same thing. I think maybe she's channeling, or maybe she's no longer possessed by the Fiend, but even something more sinister, such as Sister Abigail. But like you said, we had some follow-up the following night on Raw, and much like you, I'm interested to see where it goes, because this is one of those stories that I feel like I should hate, but I'm really enjoying, although this was kind of the first, real big thing in this whole story that I've really questioned and stuff. So I guess time will tell. But yeah, I kind of share the same sentiments about that, and where they're going with the Alexa character.
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at the whole Fiend thing, so they kind of built him up when he did his reincarnation. It was very much a play off of Jason from Friday the 13th. When Jason comes back from hell, the way, the whole look and imagery kind of reminds me of.
Right.
And in a horror film, you don't beat Jason with one bullet. You don't beat Jason with one car wreck hit, with a giant van or something. That he keeps getting back up. So in a sense of storytelling, one RKO is going to beat the monster. Like, come on now. Like, he's a monster. His whole gimmick is you can't kill him, you can't destroy him. It's like he gets in your mind and he torments you. So it's just one of those things that it could have been booked a little better. I have no problem with Randy Orton going over. It's just it could have been done. I feel like it was kind of rushed in a way.
It did feel a little rushed, in my opinion.
It felt rushed for a big, something that's been a story that's been evolving for the last couple of months,
right?
And 10 minutes, 8 minutes, wherever it was done. I was just like, wow, I wasn't expecting it to happen that quick.
According to where I'm looking at, the match card and stuff, it went 5 minutes and 50 seconds, so not even 6 minutes.
Holy crap!
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
That's way too sudden.
Right.
I would at least would give it 10 minutes then, if that's the case.
Right. All right. So next up, we have the WWE Women's Tag Team Title match featuring the champions Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax defending the titles against the winners of the Tag Team Turmoil match from night 1, that being Natalya and Tamina. Going into that match, the story was, can Natalya and Tamina finally get their WrestleMania moment? Unfortunately, results indicate that wasn't the case. It was a very good match and stuff, but Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler went over in this match. What'd you think of the match, and what's the right call made here?
The finish was good. The sharpshooter was applied. Then the choke clutch was put on by Baszler. To me, Baszler was the MVP of that team. It has been.
Yes.
I'm not a Nia Jax fan. I've never seen the appeal of her as a wrestler. She's sloppy, god awful, horrible. If she didn't have that name of who her family members were, she wouldn't have a job. And I'll be straight up honest. I don't care if anybody gets pissed off at me. This is how I feel about her. She's horrible. Feel bad for Neihart and Snuka's daughter. It'd been great if they would have had the WrestleMania moment with that. It wouldn't hurt Nia or Baszler. They did the job to put them over, But they're wanting to build up Baszler and Nia to be a dominant, powerful tag team in the women's division. So be it. I do feel like Baszler should be in a better position on that roster. Agreed. I feel like she should not have to be in a tag team with Nia Jax to carry Nia. It should be Baszler should be the person that wrestles against the Rhea Ripley's, wrestles against the Asukas, as a main dominant force as a women's champion, or the challenger who goes after the babyface. That's how I would have booked her. She's a killer, straight up. One of the few women trained by Josh Barnett, and she's a legit catch wrestler. She's as real as a heart attack, and I just feel like she's just put in a bad place. Gotcha. She's booked bad.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the team. I'm a huge Shayna Baszler fan. I do not like this team. I honestly feel like the wrong call was made here. I felt that Natalya and Tamina should have had their Mania moment here. Would have been a great way to get the titles off Shayna and Nia, who really don't need them, in my opinion. But again, I'm just a fan, so I'm just a fan who gives my opinions.
No, hey, Nolan, your opinion is pretty good. So I agree with you on that.
All right, so moving on to the match that actually I was most looking forward to on night 2, that being Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. Big thing going into this match was I believe he's a conspiracy theorist or has a YouTube show. I don't know. I've no idea.
Kind of looks like a young Fidel Castro with a hat.
It does look in that picture. But the big thing going into this match was the involvement of one Logan Paul, who was an invited guest of Sami Zayn. Result of the match, Kevin Owens beat Sami Zayn, I believe, with the stunner. And then after the match, he stunned Logan Paul as well, too, who was trying to buddy up to him. What do you think of the match, and was the right call made here?
Yeah, pretty good call. Honestly, if you watch one Kevin Owens or Kevin Steen versus, Sami Zayn match, you've seen them all. Mm-hmm. It was pretty much the basic matchups I've seen him have before in Ring of Honor and also in Canada. Not a bad thing. That's not saying it's a bad match by no means. Right. I've never been one of those guys to give people star ratings, but if I had to give it like a 5-star thing, I'd probably give it like maybe a 2.5, 3 stars out of 5. Okay. It wasn't a bad match by no means. It was a story. It was more of a storytelling type of thing between two former friends, and one trying to kind of beat common sense into the other because he's kind of gone off the deep end as a conspiracy theorist. Right. Not a big fan of Paul by any means, but Logan Paul and his brother Jake Paul are both the greatest heels on social media on YouTube for all the horrible stuff they've done over the years. So they're naturally going to get heat anyway. I mean, hell, you heard the crowd when he came out. The crowd booed. They did not care for him. So him taking the stunner from Owens in the end popped the crowd pretty well. So good for Kevin. But outside of that, yeah, it was an okay match to me. It was there. It didn't do anything for me by any means, but the fans seemed like they enjoyed it. So that's what matters the most. The fans are happy with the finish, and hey, good job.
Right, yeah. I admit this kind of match left me wanting a little bit more, but again, it wasn't a bad match. I was expecting a little bit something more out of it since it was WrestleMania, but I mean, it is what it is. I like the call as well too. So going on to our next match was for the United States Championship here. We had the man going into the match with the U.S. title, Riddle, going up against Sheamus. And a little bit of a hot take on my show here. I feel like Sheamus has been one of the MVPs of the WWE during the pandemic era. And,
absolutely.
He walked out of this match with the United States Championship after a really cool bro kick that he hit on Riddle while Riddle was trying to do, like, I believe, a moonsault or something like that.
Yeah.
What do you think of the match, and was the right call made?
To me, I think Sheamus with the win didn't hurt Riddle by any means. Yeah, I agree with you. You look at the whole pandemic thing. Sheamus, Jeff Hardy ordeal was good. Sheamus going in with the whole brutal matches with Drew McIntyre.
Yep.
Really helped elevate Drew as a fighting champion. I mean, man, Sheamus has never really been one of those guys that gave you bad performances over the years. He's always put in the work. Like he's always did his best to give the fans their money's worth. I would have booked it a little differently though.
How would you
actually? I would have had Matt Riddle going over.
Care to explain why?
Yeah, young talent. Sheamus is on everything for WWE. You know, he's been world champion. He's been, he's kind of like almost close enough to being a Grand Slam champion, if I'm correct. So he's won tag belts and everything else too. And
I believe he is. He's won the secondary titles. He's been a WWE champion.
Won the Rumble. He's won the Rumble before. I mean, he's had a hell of a career. So I mean, it's not going to hurt Sheamus for putting over, someone like Matt. Riddle's still young. I feel like Riddle in a way has been kind of badly booked. Because if you go back and you look at his younger days before he came to WWE, when he was involved, when he wrestled in Progress in the UK, he's still the stoner bro type. That's really just him being himself. But I feel like they made him almost too cartoonish with the whole little cycle bike thing he rides in and all that stuff. Like, I want to see the MMA chill, laid back RVD-esque killer that he is. The guy that you could have a good time with outside of the show, but when he's in the ring, he's there to kick it up tenfolds, and he's tapping guys out. I mean, this guy was undefeated in the UFC. So I mean, you actually have a natural athlete that's got that proven background as a legit fighter. Why not showcase that? And I felt like if he would have beaten Sheamus, it would have done him a lot more beneficial than Sheamus going over on him. But either which way was not a bad match. I put it up there with Cesaro and Seth and Bianca and Sasha as one of the best matches of WrestleMania this year.
Wow.
Because it was a good match. That bro kick out midair was spot on, man. It was beautiful. Like it was really good. So I'm not disappointed by either guy going over or losing. I would have done a little differently, but Sheamus worked his ass off, man, to get where he's at on that roster during this whole pandemic when it's kind of a rough time for WWE as well as for other companies.
Yeah. So when you were talking about the way that Riddle's been presented on the main roster since he's been called up, I've said this many times on my show, The Junkyard, that I feel like he's become the WWE's version of Jeff Spicoli. And for those that are my younger crowd out there who has no idea who that is, go watch Fast Times at Ridgemont High. That's all I'm going to say. So
yeah, and that's a great movie.
It is a classic movie, and I feel like that's what Riddle has become. So, all right, so a couple more matches to talk about here on night 2. Next up, we have, if I can find it here, where is it? I thought I had the graphic here. Let me see here. Here we go. All right, it's coming up here. We have the Nigerian drum match for the Intercontinental Championship with Big E defending the Intercontinental Championship against Apollo. And the result of the match was Apollo went over with the assistance of a debuting, for those of you who follow Raw Underground, Dabba-Kato, who I believe now is going under the name Commander Aziz, was what I had heard. And they played a role in Apollo winning the Intercontinental Championship. What do you think of the match, and was the right call made?
Match was god awful. Not because of the guys wrestling, it's just because nothing made no sense at all for what they were doing. I would have just rather just have that be just a regular Intercontinental title match, and it would just work just as well. The whole Nigerian drum thing was like, okay, drum fight. What we're gonna do? We're gonna have like marching bands with this, or we're gonna have like
Right.
some primal, like old school tribal type feel to it. It's gonna be really cool. Like, well, where are we going with your boys? And WWE just decided, oh, we're gonna have a Chinese gong, and then we're gonna have drums, and then Singapore canes. Now think about this.
Mhm.
The gong was not a Nigerian gong. I've seen Nigerian gongs before. That's not a Nigerian gong. That was a Chinese gong.
I was gonna say that didn't look like that. Looks like something
No,
yeah.
no, it was a Chinese gong. That is not Nigerian. Then on top of it, the Singapore cane. The word is Singapore. That's also in Asia. So you had two Asian items being used, and then did they even use the drums at all? Did any of the drums?
I don't think that I don't recall. I'd have to go back and watch the match, but I don't recall the drums ever really coming into play.
So what was the purpose of having the drums out there then? If you're not going to use a prop, why even waste? This things that make no sense. The match was okay as itself between the both combatants. They're great performers, great athletes, great wrestlers, and great guys. I feel like Apollo whole gimmick is kind of unique because his father is from Nigeria,
Right.
and so but it's a good push for him getting the win on Biggie at Mania. I just felt like they could have done something total opposite of it. They could have just done a Falls Count Anywhere match or a street fight or whatever it was, and that would have made a little bit more sense than, oh, we're gonna do a Nigerian drum fight, and you're like thinking like a million things, like, well, this could be like all types of stuff, and then you see the end result, and it was like, oh, okay, like it was decent, but I feel bad for both guys. They both got kind of stuck in a position that match wasn't really going to be a win-win for anybody. I mean, it was a performance for what it was. Apollo got the win. We see the debut of the guy from Raw Underground. He played a big benefactor of getting the win for Apollo on that. So I'm curious to see where they go from here with this. But yeah, it didn't do anything for me. I feel bad for both guys because they deserve far, far better.
Yeah, I love the result because I had said this before as well too. I felt like if Apollo didn't get the win here, he was done because I mean they put all this time.
I do agree on that too. I do agree on that with you on that.
Yeah, they put all this time into this character for him to not only lose at Fastlane but to lose at Mania. It's like he's done, So I felt like he had to win this match.
Yeah, that's one of those winner or else type of feels to a character. It's like, okay, if he doesn't win here, where do we go with this?
Right.
So good for him.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to the Raw Women's Championship match, and that would be Asuka defending the Raw Women's Championship against Rhea Ripley, who was actually making her official main roster Monday Night Raw debut. She had appeared on Raw to challenge Asuka and then the build to this match. But this was her first official singles match, I believe, as a member of the Raw roster. She had the tag match with where she, in their infinite wisdom, decided to put Wrestlemania opponents together as a team against the Raw women's tag team champions. But I believe this was her first one-on-one match on the main roster. Rhea goes over to win the Raw Women's Championship. What do you think of the match, and was the right call made?
The match was good. Right call was made. I mean, Asuka taking a loss did not hurt Asuka at all. With that, she had a pretty good women's title reign coming out through the pandemic. I just wish they would did more of a build up to it because it felt like such a rush. It was like, okay, yay, she debuts. Okay, and she's the new number one contender. And it's like, what they should have done is after the Royal Rumble, she should have been on the main roster. And then give her wins, like big wins. Like she's going through the gauntlet of the women who are, it's kind of like boxing. You're the number 10 contender Apollo Creed's number one.
Right.
So you're going to go through the other 9 guys to get to him. And they could have done that to Rhea and made Rhea Ripley even more of a killer doing that. But outside of that, it was a good match. It was I put it right up there. It must be my top 4 matches. I think I wrote this on my notes. Cesaro, Seth, Bianca, Sasha. Yeah. This match actually made my top 4 list because it was right up there. Yeah, because it was good. Because Rhea Ripley's a hell of a wrestler.
Yes,
and so is Asuka. So is Asuka. Both of them are fantastic women. If I had a daughter and my daughter wanted to be a wrestler, I would hope that she would look up to those women as role models for how they carry themselves in ring. So I mean, yeah, absolutely. It was a good match.
Mm-hmm. So you said you felt like the build up to this match was rushed. Do you feel like that this may have been due to the what was going on with Charlotte Flair at the time?
In a way, yes. I think it probably was, but you know what? I respect Charlotte Flair as a wrestler. She's fantastic for what she does in ring. She is very talented. But I'm happy to see new blood get the chance. It's good to be, the multi-time women's champion, all that stuff. Nothing wrong with that. But you have to have someone else come up the ranks to be that champion or be that contender at least. And so I was happy for Ripley. Really was. It was a good call. I'm glad she had her first big WrestleMania moment, and it was a great match with Asuka in front of a live crowd and all that. So hey, win-win.
Alrighty then, and last but definitely not least, it's time to move on to the main event of WrestleMania Night 2, that being the triple threat match for the Universal Championship that saw the champion Roman Reigns defending against the winner of the 2021 Men's Royal Rumble, Edge, and Daniel Bryan, who some people say weaseled his way into this match, myself saying he actually had a legitimate claim to being in this match based on what happened at Fastlane. That's a long story short, Roman retained by pinning both Daniel Bryan and Edge at the same time. What do you think of the match, and was the right call made here?
Yeah, I was actually happy with Roman winning. He's been a dominant heel champion since he's turned pretty much a heel with Paul Heyman. My biggest problem with this whole match is that it was a huge train wreck. It wasn't a bad match by no means, but it was one of those things like, okay, you do the concertos, right? And to me, if you're going to do anything with that, there was no blood. And I'm not trying to say like it needs to be a bloodbath, but you're going to smash someone's skull in with something. It's the visuals work. And to me, like Roman getting the win was not hurting Edge, not hurting Bryan Danielson, and there was something that kind of stood out to me. So he puts Edge on top of Bryan, right? And he covers him. Here's the thing is, though, and this is at least my opinion on this, Edge's shoulders never touched the mat.
True.
And Bryan was pinned down. Would that not make Edge the new heavyweight champion?
That is something that was discussed. I've heard online, and
I've seen Adam Pearce also talk about that on Twitter too. A fan actually tweeted that to him and go, "Well, that don't make no sense," And Adam Pearce was like, "Okay, you got a point."
Right. So I know we're recording this on Friday, April 16th. This is before the SmackDown after WrestleMania. So I would assume that going into when this drops here, that this will have been addressed. It is a really good point. It's something I didn't even think about until somebody, it may have been either Spencer, Jovan, or just somebody just in talking about it, just it brought to my attention. But I was like,
Yeah, so. It did me too. After I watched that finish, I watched the replay and I was like, huh. Well, you know what? His shoulders didn't touch the mat at all, but Bryan's was. But then again, Edge was on top of him before Roman was. So in hindsight, Edge should be declared the winner.
Yeah, and maybe that will have happened on SmackDown by the time this episode drops. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yes, the plot thickens, as they would say.
So I asked you your favorite match from night 1. What was your favorite match from night 2?
For night 2, I would have to go with Ripley versus Asuka.
Okay, and then so you have your favorite match from night 2 is Ripley versus Asuka. Your favorite match from night 1 was Rollins versus Cesaro. Favorite one, you got one choice between those two. One match from WrestleMania 37. Which one are you taking?
Just because of personal feelings between the people I know, Cesaro.
All righty then. You and I, great minds think alike, because that was my favorite match from all of WrestleMania as well too.
Absolutely. It was just fantastic. How everything was done was great.
Right.
So I don't know. I mean, what was your whole take on Mania? You're asking me my opinion. I mean, I wanted to know your opinion. I mean, what was your whole take by the end of the whole weekend of wrestling and all the stuff that's gone on? In your opinion, I mean, did you feel like it was one of the better Manias, or was it just kind of one of those middle of the road WrestleManias?
I'm gonna say closer to the middle of the road, because there was a lot of good, but then there was also a lot of not so good, and I think I felt like it kind of they balance each other out, and stuff. Like I feel like night 1 was better than night 2, but it felt like on paper going into WrestleMania that night 2 was going to be better than night 1, so I was kind of surprised. I felt like night 1 was kind of like, okay, they're pretty much giving the fans the majority of what they want, that kind of thing. Everything seems to be going pretty well and stuff. Then night 2, and it really, with the whole Fiend Orton match, kind of almost, that once that happened, it almost felt to me, until really, I would say, we got to excuse me, Ripley versus Asuka. I just felt like it took that show to that point to really kind of get itself back on track. I mean, again, you can provide a lot more insight from the booking perspective, whereas I'm just going from the fan perspective and that.
Well,
but go ahead. I'm sorry.
The booking perspective is this, and I guess if I have to open up the little secret book a little bit to the fans or young people or people who want to get into the wrestling business or are interested in what we do as bookers, we'll give you guys a little philosophy. Your opening card match on any show is one of the most important matches on the event.
Absolutely agree.
And when people think the opening card match should be between two rookies or wrestling talent that's not that good, that's the stupidest thing you can do. Your opening card match is your very first main event. It really is, because it sets the tone for the night. And if you have a hot opening card match, the crowd is going to get ready. They're excited. They're already knowing it's going to be a good night of wrestling. But if you give them a dud, or you give them a match that kind of takes the whole wind out of the sails, then all of a sudden it's a struggle for everyone else to build that crowd up.
Yes, I could have said it any better myself.
But really, wrestling booking itself is a roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
Your goal is, as a booker, is you get the fans up. You ride roller coasters, right, Dennis? I take you out at least.
The last time I rode a roller coaster, I got sick afterwards, and my ex-fiance, who I was with at the time, had to clean me up, and then I've never, and this is going on over 10 years.
Okay.
So I'm not a roller coaster guy because I get sick.
Okay, but the theory of booking with wrestling is you can either take it as a roller coaster, or the best example I've learned this, and I learned this from Ricky Morton, is fireworks. You go to watch a good fireworks show. You don't automatically get the whole boom, 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 very first firework. You get that first boom.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, oh, nice. And then the next thing, boom, boom. Then boom, boom, boom. And it builds up, builds up. Then when you get to your final grand finale, it's just amazing. Like, holy crap, that was awesome. Right. Oh, that's wrestling. Wrestling should be the same way. Your opening card match gets your attention. And then the rest of the card, it just builds and builds and builds. And then that main event has to be that match that gives you the big fireworks show, or such a good story that you go home either thinking about it for the rest of the week, or you go home happy. One of the two. And sometimes a little bit of A and B. But that's the theory of wrestling booking 101 from experienced bookers, is you want to leave your crowd wanting more. You want your crowd wanting to have the next show, the next experience. And you don't give them the full platter the very first day. It's like when you go over to grandma's house for a good meal. Granny might put out a pretty good dish or two, but she's not going to give you the ginormous feast. That's saved up for Christmas. I saved up for Thanksgiving. I saved for big occasions. You want to get the whole feast, but you're always wanting grandma's cooking. You always want mom's cooking. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Wrestling, same way. Wrestling has had the same philosophy. You let people have a good taste, and then they'll come back for more because they like what they had and they want to see more of it. And it works. It's really, that's a philosophy of booking. You know, give people enough where they want it, and then keep on giving them a little bit more and more until they're ready for the big feast of the year.
Gotcha.
And that's supposed to be WrestleMania for WWE.
Oh yeah. So one more question here before I let you go. One of the big controversies or big hotly debated topics going into Mania weekend was what match was going to main event night one. Was it either going to be Drew versus Bobby or Bianca versus Sasha? Obviously, we all know that it ended up being Bianca versus Sasha main event at night one. Do you feel like that was the way to go?
Yeah, absolutely, because it was a historical match. It was history.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was between two women who worked extremely hard at their craft. Why not? You know, why not?
Mm-hmm.
It didn't hurt anybody. Drew and Bobby are both very over with what they do. You know, and what it doesn't hurt those guys. I guarantee if you ask those guys their opinion, it didn't bother them one bit to be the opener on that.
Either.
You know, I thought it was actually pretty good. It was a good call. It was history being made anyway. Why not? Why not be the main focal point? That's history. You know, young boys and girls, you know, watching history being made in front of them. Definitely for people in the African American community, that was a huge deal. It really was. I mean, it for young girls growing up in Knoxville, Tennessee, they get to see someone from their neighborhood or someone from their city being represented, you know, and doing what they do best and getting that moment. And for people who, you know, that's something you'll never see again, or you may not see it, you know, until next Mania, you know, because that's a once in a lifetime thing. It was history. Once history is made, it's made, and there's no way you replicate it, duplicate it. It's there. And I was happy for both of them because, like I said before, and I say it again, Bianca Belair is a phenomenal talent. Sasha Banks has been a phenomenal talent since pretty much the NXT days of her and Bailey killing it in all those matches against each other. And you know, people like to point out Sasha Banks' 0-6 WrestleMania record, but you think about this, so that's her being unselfish and making sure other people have their moments, you know, and hopefully she'll have hers coming up. But yeah, it's historical, man. We really saw something pretty beautiful unfold in front of us as wrestling fans. So I'm happy for both ladies.
So speaking of beautiful things that will be unfolding in front of us wrestling fans here, you've got a couple of shows coming up in June and August. Why don't you tell, before I let you go, why don't you tell my audience about what you got coming up?
Well, coming up, our June 12th show is sold out. But for those fans who still want to watch our program, we'll have the shows airing on Amazon Prime, Fight TV, Power 4 TV for folks who have that. That could also be viewed from all the fans in the United Kingdom. Also, we're on High Spots Wrestling Network, which is a fantastic network. If anybody hasn't had that, do it. There's so much content on there. Also, we have a couple more dates coming up. August 21st is our big summer event, and we actually have a very historical match being made there.
Ooh.
I don't know if you actually heard the podcast with Steve and C-Red, but I'll drop it here on this show for your fans and the folks there at Pro Wrestling Junkies, who are one of our sponsors. And also, let's not forget, what do you say with DDJ as a sponsor, in which I'm glad, you know, to have you on board, Dennis. But we'll have, for the very first time in United States history, the international wrestling titles from IWRG in Mexico will be defended on our August 21st show. And it's the very first time in U.S. soil those tag titles have ever been defended on American soil. So it's history. being presented to our fans, our loyal fans of our studio shows. Other upcoming dates we got coming up: October 16th is our 1 year anniversary show. And then we have November 20th, and that November 20th date, ladies and gentlemen, I can't tell you what's about, but let's just say it will become an annual event for all of us at Chicagoland Championship Wrestling. And if you're a fan of tag team wrestling, you're going to love it.
Ooh. So, well, I've already got my ticket for the August show, guys. If you want to go see a great night of wrestling featuring a lot of really great talent, please get your tickets before they sell out, because like John just said, the June show sold out. August, believe you've already sold a good amount of tickets. So
yeah, we're actually at the halfway point.
Wow.
In August already. Yeah, if people want to buy tickets, www.chicagolandchampionshipwrestling.com is our website, and you go onto the events section and you can actually buy your tickets there. And if you buy your tickets, I will mail out the tickets to you personally, and also will include a thank you letter to all of our fans. Probably will continue to do until the day I turn blue in the face. Yeah. So it's one of the things I enjoy doing, is getting to know our fans, and please do, folks. You will definitely have a great time. I promise you that.
Yeah, having been to the show last October, and everything John is saying is legit. I actually bought late last week my ticket for the August show, and it actually came in the mail yesterday. So I'm very excited I've gotten that. And I believe you also just recently are in the process of setting up a store online as well too, so people can buy your shirts.
Yeah, actually, it's on our website, the Chicagoland Championship Wrestling.com. We actually have a store. There they can purchase stickers, T-shirts, all the merchandise on there, and we'll ship them out to you. We're also working on some new merchandise. We've got, of course, the classic Chicago land shirt. They're being printed up. I actually got a message today from the T-shirt company. We are now their order that they're working on. So everybody who did the pre-order, they'll have those out. When they do, I'll mail them out to everyone. And we're actually working on another T-shirt design coming up. That's going to be really cool. See, this is going to be in multi-colors, so people could buy whatever color they like on the shirt. So they'll have reds, blues, black, all the standard wrestling T-shirt colors, but things that they'll enjoy.
Yeah, because what we all need is another black wrestling T-shirt.
Yeah, I got about 300 of them. So.
Me too. A few gray, a few other colors sprinkled in there. I just want to need another black wrestling shirt. So
yeah. Right. I try to be a little bit more creative of them, Dennis. I try to do like blues, and other. But you'd be surprised how many people will walk up to me at tables and go, "I really love your shirt. Do you have that in black?" And I'm like, I could get that made for you, sure. Like blue's really nice color though. I don't want no baby blue. I want black. And I'm like, okay. And I'm saying, well, I'm an old school metalhead kid. So I was always part of the black T-shirt squads of Slayer and all those bands. So yeah, it is what it is.
Gotcha. All right. Well, John, thank you so much for doing this with me. I thought this was a really cool look into what someone who's in your position in the world of professional wrestling thinks, and millions of people watch WrestleMania, and so it's just kind of neat to get a different perspective on things. So thank you for your time.
Well, Dennis, we should do this more often. I enjoyed, providing a little knowledge and give my thoughts on stuff, and always appreciate you, my friend. Thank you for everything you do for us at Chicagoland, and most importantly, thank you what you do for all of us in the world of wrestling. It's definitely appreciated.
Oh, I appreciate you saying that and stuff, and I think we can make this a somewhat regular thing here on my show. I think I liked it. I'm anxious to see when every post production's done, how the final product turns out and stuff. But I think we can make this work on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, John, have a great day. Enjoy it. Have a great weekend. And I'm sure I'll be talking to you many times before June 12th.
Absolutely, Dennis. So you have yourself a wonderful weekend. And by the way, happy birthday, my friend.
Oh, thank you so much. For those of you who may not don't know, by the time this drops, I will be 2 days past my 41st birthday. Or a day past my 41st birthday. So I'm already getting senile in my old age. Yeah,
Don't worry, I'm already there. I'm already there with you, bud.
you probably got more together than I do and stuff. So, but John, once again, thanks, man, and have a great weekend.
You too, Dennis. Hello there, wrestling fans. This is John Bullard, owner of Chicagoland Championship Wrestling, and you're listening to What Do You Say with DDJ.
John, thank you again so much for joining me. I really enjoyed your take on Wrestlemania. As always, it's a pleasure chatting with you. You've become a very good friend of me and a great friend of the show. So I want to thank you again for taking the time to do this episode with me. As you very well know, the June 12th Chicagoland Championship Wrestling show is sold out. Depending on certain things, more tickets may be made available depending on the COVID restrictions in Michigan City, Indiana. But if not, you can still go to ChicagolandChampionshipWrestling.com and get your tickets for the August show. Information can be found on the website, and it will also be coming across the screen here if you're watching this on YouTube. Be sure to go to ProWrestlingTees.com/ProWrestlingJunkies to get one of the very cool shirts that we have available. You can get yourself a What Do You Say with DDJ shirt. You can get yourself a Junkyard shirt, a Toilet Side Wrestling Talk shirt, a Steve's 3, Such Good Shoot, and also the awesome Pro Wrestling Junkies t-shirts as well. Before I go, I just want to give a get well shout out to former guest of What Do You Say with DDJ and one of the coolest little dudes I know, Steven Spice. He just recently had some surgery, and Steven, you're one of the coolest little dudes I know, and I wish you nothing but the best and hope to see you back in the saddle here again real soon. All right, well, that's all the time I got this week. Tune in next week for a brand new episode of What Do You Say with DDJ. Thanks for listening, everyone.
If you love professional wrestling and great podcasts, check out What Do You Say with DDJ on Facebook, Twitter, and also on ProWrestlingTees.com. In the search field, just type in DDJ and buy the best professional wrestling podcast shirt around.